Look at that out there. The wind's blowing. It's 40 degrees. It's chilly and cold. It's just nasty. I think we'll make some onion soup.
Well, tonight we're going to make some onion soup. And to make onion soup, of course, you need some onions. We've got some sweet onions here and one red onion, which I think goes well with the dish. Got some beef stock. Sorry, it's already prepared beef stock, but it's a weeknight. I don't have time to make stock from scratch. You'll need some thyme. And since we're talking onion soup, of course you're going to need some bacon. Definite requirement. A little bit later on, we'll be using some Gruyere cheese for the melted top. And that's about all we need to make some really good onion soup. So follow along as we put this together. First thing we're going to need to do is cut up some bacon. And we're just going to cut it in little, about half-inch slices. And I like to use about 5 or 6 pieces of bacon for that. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is dump that bacon into the stock pot, and we're going to cook it. We're going to render out all the fat and turn it into nice little crisp pieces of bacon. So we've got it in there working right now. While the bacon's cooking, one of the things that we need to do is pick some thyme. I strongly recommend that you use fresh thyme for this. It makes a lot of difference. And the way I like to pick it is I just peel my finger along like that. Once you've got the thyme all picked, you might want to give it a chop or two just to break it up a little bit, because you get some stems off sometimes with that. You want it in really smaller pieces. You don't want really huge chunks through there. Bacon's coming along really nice. That'll be ready in about 5, maybe 6 minutes or so. While the bacon's finishing up, we're going to start slicing the onions. And I just read not too long ago that if you chewed gum, you wouldn't cry from cutting onions. So I'm chewing some gum. That's the cracking you're going to be hearing. I'll let you know if it works. What you want to do is you slice these. Just first of all, not cut your fingers off. Always a challenge. Cut them in varying thinnesses, anywhere from 1/8 to the most maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to cut about, well, I'm going to start with 4. I'm going to do 3 of these sweet ones and the red one and see what kind of pile of onions I get from that. Okay, the bacon is cooked. It's ready to go, and we won't be seeing that again until we're ready to put the dish together. But in the meantime, what we've got is a stock pot with a lot of nice bacon grease on the bottom. What we're going to do now is we're going to cook the onions. We're going to take handfuls of these babies. We're going to dump them in that bacon grease. It's like a lot of onions, doesn't it? But they'll cook down. This is going to be really good. We're going to just mix these around, get some of that bacon grease on everything. Get these guys coated with it. It's starting to smell really good already. That didn't take long at all. This is also a pretty good time to dump that thyme that we picked in there. Give it a little bit more stir. And basically what we're going to do is come back every 5 minutes or so and stir it around until these things cook down. Not going to take terribly long. We're not going to have to really keep an eye on it too closely. Look how nicely these are cooking down. Now the idea is that you want to caramelize them, you don't want to burn them, so I'm using medium heat here. And the next thing that we want to do is deglaze what's in there a little bit with a little bit of pretty cheap vermouth. So we'll just pour glug in there. Then we're going to stir it around really good. And that smells even better. Let that cook down for just a few seconds. It's been about 30-45 minutes or so since we've put in the onions and started this process. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a bunch of beef broth. Just going to pour that right in. I'm going to use 2 containers of this and get some nice leftover soup. Okay, we've added all the broth now. And what we're going to do is we're not going to bring it to a boil. We're just going to let it simmer for maybe an hour or 2 on the stove. We'll give it one more stir. Then we're going to put a lid on it and just let it sit. Okay, our soup's been simmering for a couple of hours. Now we're ready to go ahead and get it built. So we're going to start off with some croutons. These are just basically baguette slices that have been toasted. A couple of those in each bowl. Then here's the bacon again. Going to throw some pieces of that on top of the baguettes. And I want to get each of these pretty full. I'm going to put a little bit more liquid in each one. And then what we're going to do is layer some nice Gruyere cheese on top of each of the crocks. It's looking pretty good there. We're ready to put these in the broiler. The crocks are in the oven now under the broiler, and the cheese is starting to get bubbly and brown. We're going to let it get nice and brown before we take it out. The broiler's done its job. The soup is ready. Look at that. Bubbly, brown, full of bacon. It's going to taste delicious. Just plate these up. And we're ready to go. Voila, onion soup. I'm recording, so.